Have you ever wondered whether a simple habit you do after meals, something so ordinary you don't even think about it, could quietly raise your risk for stroke, memory loss, or early dementia? Most people never question it. Most doctors never mention it. And most hospitals don't warn you about it, not in routine checkups, not in discharge papers, and certainly not in those rushed 5-minute consultations where you barely have time to ask a question. But there is a doctor who does talk about it. A 91-year-old neurologist, still sharp, still teaching, still passionate about protecting the aging brain. A doctor who has spent more than 6 decades treating patients who suddenly lost their memory, who unexpectedly suffered a stroke, who slipped from independence into dependence, not because of fate, but because of small habits repeated over a lifetime. And according to him, the biggest dangers to the brain and heart are not always genetics, not age, not bad luck, but the quiet, everyday things we do right after we eat, without ever realizing how deeply they affect the mind, the blood vessels, the nervous system, and long-term cognitive health. He says that the moments after a meal are one of the most ignored, yet most critical, windows for protecting the brain as we age. In this video, you're going to discover why heavy checkmark 5 after meal habits that silently harm brain and heart health. Why heavy checkmark why so many seniors feel foggy, dizzy, sleepy, or forgetful after eating. Why heavy checkmark what these symptoms really mean for long-term brain function. Why heavy checkmark the simple changes that support blood flow, clarity, stability, and memory. Wide heavy checkmark how tiny adjustments today can protect your independence later. If you or someone you love has ever said, "I can't think clearly after meals. I feel tired as soon as I eat. My memory isn't what it used to be. I feel pressure in my head after food. I just want to lie down after lunch," then this video may be more important than you realize. Have you ever wondered whether a simple habit you do after meals, something so ordinary you don't even think about it, could quietly raise your risk for stroke, memory loss, or early dementia? Most people never question it. Most doctors never mention it. And most hospitals don't warn you about it, not in routine checkups, not in discharge papers, and certainly not in those rushed 5-minute consultations where you barely have time to ask a question. But there is a doctor who does talk about it. A 91-year-old neurologist, still sharp, still teaching, still passionate about protecting the aging brain. A doctor who has spent more than 6 decades treating patients who suddenly lost their memory, who unexpectedly suffered a stroke, who slipped from independence into dependence, not because of fate, but because of small habits repeated over a lifetime. And according to him, the biggest dangers to the brain and heart are not always genetics, not age, not bad luck, but the quiet, everyday things we do right after we eat, without ever realizing how deeply they affect the mind, the blood vessels, the nervous system, and long-term cognitive health. He says that the moments after a meal are one of the most ignored, yet most critical, windows for protecting the brain as we age. In this video, you're going to discover why heavy checkmark 5 after meal habits that silently harm brain and heart health. Why heavy checkmark why so many seniors feel foggy, dizzy, sleepy, or forgetful after eating. Why heavy checkmark what these symptoms really mean for long-term brain function. Wide heavy checkmark the simple changes that support blood flow, clarity, stability, and memory. Wide heavy checkmark how tiny adjustments today can protect your independence later. If you or someone you love has ever said, "I can't think clearly after meals. I feel tired as soon as I eat. My memory isn't what it used to be. I feel pressure in my head after food. I just want to lie down after lunch," then this video may be more important than you realize. Because these signs are not just aging. They're not just normal. They are messages from the brain, warnings that circulation, oxygenation, and neural energy are being disrupted. And the good news? You can change it. You can support your brain. You can protect your memory. You can stay mentally strong into your 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond. This isn't about fear. This isn't about panic. This isn't about scaring you into worrying about every bite of food. This is about white heavy checkmark empowerment, white heavy checkmark prevention, white heavy checkmark clarity, white heavy checkmark confidence, white heavy checkmark and aging with dignity, strength, and control. Because the second half of life should not be a slow decline. It should be a chapter of wisdom, connection, joy, presence, and purpose. So stay with me until the end, because habit number 5 is the one almost everyone does. And it carries the highest long-term cost, not just for memory, but for balance, mood, circulation, and brain aging. Now, let's begin. Have you ever stopped to wonder whether a simple habit you do after every meal, something so ordinary you barely think about it, could quietly be putting you at risk for stroke, memory loss, or even early dementia? It sounds unbelievable, right? After all, you eat, you sit back, maybe even take a little rest, and think everything is fine. But what if the very things that feel normal, comfortable, or routine are actually slowly harming your brain and heart over time? Most people never hear about this. Not during routine checkups. Not in hospital discharge notes. Not in those rushed, 5-minute consultations where doctors barely have time to answer your questions. But one doctor, a 91-year-old neurologist who has spent a lifetime treating patients suffering from strokes and age-related memory decline, has spent decades watching patterns emerge. He says the biggest dangers aren't always genetics. They aren't always unavoidable diseases. No. The biggest risks often come from the quiet, everyday things we do after meals. Habits so simple that we don't even realize their long-term impact. And here's the most shocking part. These habits aren't just minor annoyances. They can silently damage blood vessels, increase inflammation, affect circulation, and weaken the connections in your brain that keep your memory, focus, and independence intact. In this video, you're going to discover white heavy checkmark 5 after meal habits that quietly harm your brain and heart health. White heavy checkmark why seniors often feel foggy, dizzy, tired, or forgetful after eating. White heavy checkmark what to do instead to support memory, circulation, and overall well-being. White heavy checkmark how these small, manageable changes can help you stay sharp and independent well into your 80s, 90s, and beyond. If you've ever noticed yourself or someone you love saying, I can't think clearly after lunch. I get sleepy or dizzy after meals. I feel bloated or uncomfortable after eating. I just want to lie down right away. Then this video is going to be an eye-opener. Because these symptoms are not just getting older or normal aging. They are subtle warning signs from your body, telling you that blood flow, digestion, and brain function are being affected, and if ignored, they could lead to long-term consequences like memory lapses, cognitive decline, or even strokes. The good news? You don't have to accept this as inevitable. You can make simple, practical changes to your daily routine that protect your brain, support your heart, and preserve your independence. And the best part is, these changes don't cost anything. They don't require medications or complicated treatments. They just require awareness and a willingness to adjust habits most people take for granted. This isn't about fear. This isn't about panic. It's about empowerment. It's about taking control of your health in a way that's gentle, practical, and incredibly effective. Imagine feeling clear-headed, energized, and confident after every meal instead of groggy, lethargic, or forgetful. Imagine protecting your brain so that you can stay independent, sharp, and vibrant well into your later years. So stay with me until the very end, because habit number 5 is the one almost everyone does, and it carries the highest long-term cost for your memory, circulation, and overall brain health. By the time this video is over, you'll know exactly what to avoid, why it matters, and how to replace these habits with simple, powerful routines that can help you live smarter, longer, and healthier. Most people already know that smoking is harmful. That cigarettes and cigars can damage your lungs, raise blood pressure, and increase your risk of heart disease and cancer. But what almost no one realizes is that lighting up immediately after a meal multiplies the damage, and can quietly undermine your brain, memory, and circulation in ways that accumulate over years. Why does this happen? After you eat, your body naturally works harder to digest food. Your circulation increases, your digestive organs get more blood, and your metabolism is active. If you smoke at this exact time, toxins from tobacco are absorbed more quickly because your digestive system is already working and your blood flow is heightened. Blood vessels constrict more intensely, temporarily reducing oxygen delivery to your brain. Your heart works harder to pump blood that is already compromised. Your brain's delicate neural tissues receive less oxygen, making them more vulnerable to damage over time. This combination may seem subtle, but over months and years, it can lead to warning higher risk of stroke, warning faster cognitive decline, warning memory lapses, warning vascular dementia and other age-related brain issues. Let me give you a real-world example. Frank, 69, loved his evening ritual. After dinner, he would pour a coffee, light a cigar, and sit back in his favorite chair. He thought of it as a reward. After a long day, a small pleasure he deserved. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, changes began to occur. Names and words started to slip from his memory. Tasks that were once easy suddenly took longer to process. Concentration waned. Reading, conversation, even planning became more effortful. He brushed it off, thinking it was normal aging. But when he visited his doctor, He learned that smoking right after meals was creating a perfect storm for his brain. Blood vessels constricted, oxygen delivery dropped, and toxins reached his brain at the worst possible time. It wasn't about quitting smoking entirely at first, though that would be ideal. Even simply delaying his cigar or cigarette by 30 to 60 minutes after eating made a noticeable difference. Over weeks, wide heavy checkmark his thinking became clearer. Wide heavy checkmark foggy afternoons were replaced with focus and energy. Wide heavy checkmark he felt more alert, more present, and more confident in daily life. Every meal you finish without lighting up is essentially giving your brain a small gift, more oxygen, less toxic stress, and a chance to heal from years of microdamage. Even cutting back gradually is a victory. Each small step accumulates into big improvements over time. And the impact is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and even social. Clearer thinking allows you to connect better with family, make better decisions, and enjoy life without the constant fog of nicotine and poor circulation. So if you're someone who smokes, or cares for someone who does, consider this. The moment after a meal is one of the most critical windows for protecting your brain and heart. Changing just this one habit could reduce the risk of stroke, cognitive decline, and memory loss, not tomorrow, but over the decades to come. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's something you can start right after today's meal. Many people, especially seniors, do this without thinking, reaching for a cold glass of water right after finishing a meal. It feels refreshing, even soothing, but what seems harmless can actually interfere with digestion and long-term health in ways most of us never realize. Here's why. When we eat, our digestive system is working hard. Stomach acid, enzymes, and bile are all being released to break down the food, extract nutrients, and send them into the bloodstream. Your body is producing heat naturally to help this process. If you suddenly pour icy water into your stomach, it can slow digestion. Cold water causes the digestive muscles to contract, which can slow the breakdown of food. This means your body has to work harder and longer to process the same meal. Solidify fats in food. When fats cool rapidly, they can clump together, making them harder to digest and absorb. Increase bloating and pressure. Slower digestion can lead to uncomfortable bloating, stomach heaviness, and even gas. Raise reflux risk. Cold water can disrupt the timing of stomach emptying, increasing the chance that acid and partially digested food move back up into the esophagus. Over time, this can cause chronic inflammation. Reduce nutrient absorption. When digestion slows, your body may not absorb all the vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients from the food you just ate, which can quietly affect energy, immunity, and brain health over months and years. In other words, what feels refreshing in the moment can create hidden stress for your body, and for seniors especially, this stress adds up over time. It may even contribute to the mid-afternoon fatigue, brain fog, and low energy many older adults notice after meals. Here's a small, simple adjustment that makes a big difference. White heavy checkmark: drink warm or room temperature water after meals. White heavy checkmark: sip slowly, rather than gulping large amounts at once. White heavy checkmark: allow your body to digest naturally without shocking it with extreme temperatures. The benefits are remarkable. Digestion flows more smoothly. Bloating and reflux are reduced. Nutrients are absorbed more efficiently. You feel lighter, more energized, and mentally clear. Even something as small as changing the temperature of your water can improve circulation, reduce digestive strain, and support brain function, all without taking a single pill or expensive supplement. Think of it this way: your body is designed to operate efficiently, and minor adjustments like this can unlock hours of post-meal comfort, energy, and mental clarity. A simple shift from cold to warm water is one of the easiest ways to protect your digestion, support your brain, and feel more alert after meals. It's small, but over years, it can make a huge difference in health, memory, and overall vitality. After a meal, your body naturally experiences changes in blood sugar and circulation, and this is especially true for older adults. When we eat, glucose enters the bloodstream, and the body releases insulin to help transport it into cells. This process is completely normal. But what happens if, after eating, we remain completely still for hours, sitting in a chair, lounging on the couch, or even reclining in bed? Here's what science shows. Blood sugar surges higher. Sitting still slows the movement of glucose into your cells, meaning your blood sugar stays elevated longer. Over time, repeated spikes can increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and vascular damage. Insulin spikes. Your body has to work harder to regulate glucose, which can strain the pancreas and contribute to metabolic stress. Circulation slows. Blood isn't flowing as efficiently through your vessels, which reduces oxygen and nutrient delivery to your brain. For seniors, this subtle reduction in blood flow can lead to fatigue, brain fog, and even small, cumulative damage to delicate arteries. Inflammation increases. Low circulation and prolonged inactivity can trigger inflammatory pathways in the body, quietly contributing to stroke risk, memory decline, and cognitive aging. In other words, doing nothing after a meal may feel restful in the moment, but over months and years, it can create serious long-term consequences for both your heart and your brain. But here's the good news: it doesn't take long, it doesn't require a gym, and it doesn't require breaking a sweat. Just 2 to 10 minutes of gentle movement can make a profound difference. White heavy checkmark lowers stroke risk. Even a short walk or gentle stretching after a meal encourages blood flow and helps prevent the blood from becoming too thick or sluggish. White heavy checkmark supports brain oxygenation. Movement stimulates circulation, which delivers oxygen and nutrients to brain cells, keeping memory, focus, and clarity sharp. White heavy checkmark stabilizes memory-related hormones, certain hormones that support cognition, mood, and alertness are positively influenced by post-meal activity. And it doesn't have to be complicated. A slow walk around your home or yard. Gentle stretching or reaching exercises while standing. Light housework, like putting away dishes or tidying the table. Even standing and pacing while chatting on the phone. The key is simply not staying completely sedentary. It's about helping your body process the meal, supporting your metabolism, and keeping circulation active so your brain and heart get exactly what they need. Think of it like giving your body a small, daily tune-up after every meal. It may feel minor, but over weeks and months, it dramatically reduces strain on your heart, keeps blood sugar more stable, supports brain function, and protects against memory decline. This small habit is one of the easiest, most powerful ways to invest in your health, energy, and independence without any equipment, expensive supplements, or rigorous exercise routines. Remember, it's not about doing more. It's about doing just a little, consistently, and allowing your body to function as it was designed, upright, moving, and gently active after meals. In today's world, screens are everywhere. Phones, TVs, tablets, laptops, we reach for them the moment we sit down after a meal. It's easy to understand why. After a long day, dinner can feel like the perfect time to relax, catch up on news, scroll through social media, or binge-watch a favorite show. But here's the thing most people don't realize. Using screens immediately after eating can actually overwork your brain at the very moment it's trying to focus on digestion. When you eat, your body naturally directs more blood flow to your stomach and intestines. Oxygen and energy are prioritized for breaking down food and absorbing nutrients. Meanwhile, your brain receives slightly less blood and oxygen during this process. If during this critical time you bombard your brain with fast-moving images, bright lights, notifications, and constant scrolling, it can lead to mental fog. The brain struggles to process information while simultaneously focusing on digestion, leaving you feeling slow or disoriented. Headaches. Visual overstimulation combined with digestion-related blood flow shifts can trigger tension or mild headaches, especially in seniors. Slower recall. Multitasking during digestion interferes with memory consolidation, meaning that information you just read or watched is less likely to stick. Disrupted sleep. The blue light emitted from screens suppresses melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep, making it harder to fall asleep and get restorative rest. Nighttime confusion in seniors. For older adults, the combination of reduced oxygen flow to the brain and constant mental stimulation can contribute to evening disorientation, forgetfulness, or increased anxiety. In short, overloading your brain immediately after a meal can quietly sabotage the very cognitive processes you're trying to preserve. So what can you do instead? Fortunately, the solutions are simple, gentle, and highly effective.